I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, December the 22nd, brought to you in part by Norfenacol by Norbrook. Make Norfenacol your first choice to get to the bottom of BRD. It's highly effective and it's fast, reaching therapeutic blood levels within 30 minutes of being administered. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Mexican perspective. Now, we've been talking about our imports of Mexican cattle, and they've been a lot more this year than what's typical. We're on track to surpass 700,000 head, and that's up from just a couple of years we had only 400,000 because that was extreme drought. Of course, we had the extreme drought in Texas and New Mexico and places like that too. It was just extreme drought in all of the Southwest. But for the most part, Mexican feeder cattle make up only about 5 to 10% of just Texas feedlot placements. So it's not it's not as much as what a lot of people think. On the average, your Mexican feeder cattle make up about 7% of Texas feedlot placements, and that's pretty much it. I mean, we get a few of them going up to Kansas and a few of them going here and there, but for the most part, they stay in Texas. And so you know that we've been talking about, of course, RCAF's been talking about country of origin labeling ever since 2015, but we don't need to label everything and have everything labeled exactly where it comes from. All we really need to know as U.S. consumers, especially if we're patriotic, if it is a product of the U.S. from start to finish, or if it ain't. Because it just takes too much to try to label everything, because every time you get done with one product that comes from one place, you have to shut everything down, sterilize it, start over again. You run out of those, you got to stop again, sterilize it, because even if there's a speck of it in there, it has to have that label on there, and it gets too confusing. But we do have pending legislation. Your product of the USA is pending approval from the USDA. And that is a good thing. We want it to come through, because currently any cattle that come from anywhere else, even anything that's done here, if they're processed here, if they're slaughtered here, if they're packaged here, anything, it can be called product of the USA, and it's really not. And even if we bring in just big cuts, even if they come from Paraguay, and they're further processed here or packaged here or something, it can be called product of USA, which is insane. And so we've got this pending legislation for approval to get product of the USA, and then if it actually has product of USA on it, it has to be born, raised, fed, slaughtered, processed, packaged, everything in the USA. And so we think, well, what's Mexico's perspective of that? It's kind of unique that we've seen it here lately. A story that come out of the Dallas Morning News. Alvaro Bastia, which I'll probably tore that up, but he's the president of the Chihuahua Cattlemen's Association, the state of Chihuahua. They're a very proud state there. And he sees a tremendous opportunity here. And he says if this product of the USA gets approval and that does become enacted, then he wants to start tagging their product of Chihuahua. And he says that he thinks there is a lot of opportunity there. He says, they've got certain products like avocados from Mexico and things like that, and people really flock to it once they get it promoted, because they spend their money better in the promotion than what Beef Checkoff does. But anyway, that product, once you get it promoted and you get it stuck in someone's mind, then they migrate to that product. He thinks there'll be better demand for that product to go back to Mexico as a finished product, and he thinks, which he's right, there's a large enough population of Mexicans here in the United States that they would be willing to pay more for that product if it says product of Chihuahua. So that's an interesting perspective there. And you know, Mexican cattle are mostly U.S. genetics now. You know, they're AI, and you know, they're transferring all kinds of genetics, you know, technically, and so they're not that far behind us. The quality of the Mexican product has improved more in the last 30 years from Mexico than it has anywhere in the United States. But as a general rule, your quality of cattle all over North America has improved vastly in the last 30 years. But Mexican cattle aren't that bad. And there's a lot of them that are here in the Texas Panhandle. I drive by them on wheat every day, and you think, pretty good cattle. You know, they're not Corriente crossed anymore, and they're starting to get a lot of that Continental. They had too much Continental. You know, they'd been criticized so much for being narrow or cat-assed for so long. Then they went too far the other way, and we're going with the Gelfie and all this stuff and these big balloon-butted things out there that would not grade. Now they're starting to get kind of a nice medium or a nice mixture there, and they're pretty darn good cattle. And the people that handle them, both on wheat, in a growing yard, turned out on grass, or even if they just take them straight to the feedlot, the people that handle them love them because they don't get sick and they don't die. And the heck of it is, you can't worry too much about the Mexican product coming up here. It's not going to get that much bigger. I mean, the pastures that they run on are no better than the pastures in our Southwest. And so we're actually looking at seeing a drawback a little bit from Mexican cattle over the next couple of years if the moisture levels get back somewhere close to normal in Mexico there, because they are wanting to start rebuilding their herd a little bit. So we're not going to see much more than what we're seeing right now of Mexican cattle, but we might watch. And I'm not saying it's going to strike back on us. I'm not saying it's going to bother us, but the Mexican folks, they're not too worried about this product of USA, and they actually think that there's an opportunity there. Talk about your cattle on feed, which comes out today here, and I'm not going to be talking to you about it until next Thursday. But your inventories are expected to be 102.2 from the average of the analyst guess. Placements in November expected to be 96.2. Marketing's expected to be 93.2. It's hard for me to see how it could be very far from that on any of those three categories. I don't know what big of a part it would play right here in the holidays with everything kind of at a standstill, even if it doesn't match up with that, but we'll talk about it. Talk about your board for Thursday. December live cattle futures are up 52 cents at 170.55. February down 162 at 168.67. Your back months were down as little as 90, which that was the furthest out traded month, to down as much as 165. So down, we've been up more than we've been down this week, but just a little volatility here in front of the cattle on feed report. January feeder cattle down 235 at 221.70. March down 237 at 223.37. Back months down as little as 120, and that was the farthest out traded month again, and down as much as 207. And like I said, those back months haven't been going down as much when we're down, and they're going up just as much when we're going up. They're gaining ground all the time. You guys need to be paying attention to that. You can reach out there and dally up to some of those big prices out there and protect yourself and rest a lot easier. Talk about your March corn, up 2 3/4 cents at 472.5. January beans down 11 at 12.97 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March up 1 3/4 cents at 626 3/4. Fat cattle trade. I thought we would see quite a bit of trade on Wednesday night, especially in the northern plains and in the Midwest. Once they got up to the 170, I thought there would be significant trade there, and I thought your packers would come across with some 171 or 2 in the southern plains, and we would see significant trade there. Neither one of those things happened. Your packers kind of acted like they were ready to buy a lot of product, and we know they're really short bought. But when the board opened up down on Thursday morning, they thought that was another opportunity to buy cattle cheaper. And so they would not give any more. So here we are, Friday, right before Christmas weekend, and needing to do a lot of business. And they didn't buy hardly anything on the open negotiated market last week. They need to buy a bunch this week. And I hope these feedlots that sell negotiated hold their feet to the fire and get all they can get out of them. Iowa, just 500 head on Thursday, 13,300 for the week, which is nothing. Live sales on Thursday, 170. Dress sales, 268 to 270. Nebraska, 600 head on Thursday, only 6,100 for the week. The only price they had on Thursday was 270 dressed. And those prices up in the northern feedlot areas are steady to $1 higher. Kansas didn't have any sales. Texas didn't have any sales. They haven't even sold 350 head for the week in the southern plains yet, guys. And they need cattle. I'll tell you what, if they're gonna try to fill those shelves back up after good depletion of meat products. I cleared the Walmart out of prime ribs, boneless prime ribs there on Thursday, so they're gonna have to replace that somehow. But I think they're gonna have good shelf clearance on over the holiday here. They're gonna need product bad. They really need it in the southern plains. They're going to have to buy some cattle, guys. How about box beef cutout values? They were mixed, but mostly up on choice, up $2 at $291.13. Selects down 33 at $261.27. Your slaughter, 497,000 through the first 4 days of the week. That's 8,000 less than the huge week last week, but 47,000 more than the storm interrupted week a year ago. Your actual slaughter information came back for the week ending December the 9th with your average dressed steer carcass weight at 939 pounds, just down 1 pound from the all-time record high that was posted the previous report, and still 11 pounds heavier than the same report a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Hubach Farms on December the 27th, at 1 p.m. is going to be on DVAuction. My buddy Wes Tiemann, he's a renowned production sale manager. Wes Tiemann there from Missouri. He is going to be selling out the entire spring cow herd of Johnny Hubach, and just west of King City, Missouri, that's up there in northwest Missouri where I used to hang, and they're going to have 250 head of commercial purebred Angus females. This is quite an opportunity here. Complete dispersal of the spring herd. They're going to be bred heifers to 5 years old, so they're all going to be young. Over half the females will be sired by Niagara, Tahoe, and Legend. And all of them will be AI bred. They all start calving in early to mid-February there. This is a wonderful opportunity to get some really, really nice genetics if you're interested in doing that. It's going to be during a slow time where you can either get there, or I think maybe it's going to be all on DVAuction. But check them out. Hubach Farms sale on DVAuction.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Thursday, sitting at 222.59. That's up 46 cents. Been quite a bit of gain there on your real-time index. And now we see your CME cash feeder cattle index hanging back a little bit. The latest available on it was 219.80. Talk about your sales on Thursday, and you know they just keep winding down here for the holidays. A lot of sales didn't have a sale this week, and they sure won't have one next week. But Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas had 2,600 head. The market reporters in Kansas are so poor, and I hate to keep talking about it, but it just never ceases to amaze me. They had over 2,000 last week, at 2,600 this week. Could not call a trend. They said a higher undertone. Look at a couple of these quotes. 63 steers weighed 540 at 320.50. You think it might be a little bit higher? How about 81 steers weigh 610 at 289.25? My gosh, higher undertone noted. Ridiculous. That federal state market reporting there in Kansas is embarrassing. How about Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas? Now they only had 1,500, but the incapable market reporter there called 18 different trends on that 1,500 head, guiding you in no direction at all. How about a big sale up in South Dakota? Mitchell Livestock Marketing in Mitchell, South Dakota. 3,100 head right here this close to the holiday. That's my buddy Jared Herman that has that sale. They called the calves mostly $3 to $8 higher, and they sure look like that. He's going to have another sale next week, and that's going to be one of the few sales that will be had. He is having a sale on December the 28th, and my buddy Jacob Massey, the world champion livestock auctioneer, is going to be on hand to sell, and they're going to have over 4,000 head. And I hope Jacob gets along better than I did the day that I went up there to help sell, because you look out into that lime green seats there, and all you see is big Norwegian faces, and they all have the same look on them, and they all are wearing Carhartt coveralls with muck boots, and it's a little bit hard to keep track of where you're at. Good luck, Jacob. But Mark Mitchell Livestock Marketing is your National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day. Check out this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. You see your best tested weights, about 473 head of 6-weight steer calves. They average 650 at 262.72. 312 head of 7-weight steers average 741 at 243.04. And 287 head of 9-weight steers in Mitchell, South Dakota average 932 at 215.42. Now look at the heifers. 304 head of 5-weight heifer calves average 557 at 247.96. 416 head of 6-weight heifers average 644, with a weighted average price on all of those at 240.64. Pretty impressive. Give you a few individual quotes. How about Maryville Livestock Auction in Maryville, Missouri? They had the Gary Osborne backgrounded steers there. Gary's dad was Merlin Osborne, and he was yard foreman at St. Joe Stockyards for many years. He was there when I first got there. Really good guy. But Gary backgrounds those steers there. Be pretty fleshy, guys. But 127 head of them weighed 838 in Maryville, Missouri, and they bring 222.50. I thought that was pretty impressive. How about Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky? They sell 56 steers, weigh 920 at 220.20. Very impressive for way out east there. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday, and your Mackerson, no BS, top quote for the day, indeed come out of Mitchell Livestock Marketing. It was 126 steers, weighed 653, and bring 271.50. On behalf of DVAuction and all of our partners, I wish all you folks a very, very Merry Christmas. We will talk to you on the Thursday of Christmas week for a couple of visits, and then we'll be off a couple more times there during the first of the New Year's week, and then we'll be back to normal. Merry Christmas, everybody, and that's your Feeder Flash.